Well, it's everyone. I figured I'd do a video of the latest project I just finished. I finished this last week, but decided to do a video of it before I packed it up. Anyway, this is the last level version 2 Weapon X. So this is a quarter scale Weapon X produced by Last Level version 2. I think they've got like 3 versions of this now. Anyway, so this was sent to me as an unpainted kit. I'm not the producer. I'm not the sculptor. I didn't print this. I didn't buy this. This was sent to me by a client. The sculptor is Franco Carlesimo, who's very well known in the collectibles industry. And this was posted for sale. The kit was posted for sale, I don't know, 6 months ago by someone. And I had just made a comment that, oh, I'd really like to paint one of those. One of my clients saw that comment, he bought the kit and sent it to me. So I just finished this up. I think it was on Thursday I finished it. Yeah, Thursday of last week. And also put photos at the end of this slideshow to show you the studio photos. But this thing is just a really, really killer sculpt. It was a fun piece to do. So we'll show it off here a little bit. It's got 3 heads. This head actually gets a lot of hate because of the chin sculpt. But actually, this is actually my second favorite head. My first is the helmet head, which we'll put on at the end. But this is a lot of fun to do. It was a little challenging because I want to say that this had been painted before. I don't know if they offered this as a pre-paint. I don't think Last Level does pre-paints. Actually, they do. I do know they do because I own like the version 1 pre-paint and I sold it. But I could tell it had been painted before and primed over. And also, this arm is glued on from the factory, so I wasn't unable to take this arm off and paint, which made it a little more difficult. This arm is magnetized, and the legs are glued on. He does come a part of the torso. It's magnetized, yeah, really cool piece. So it made it a little challenging just painting the skin tones around the arms and stuff. But and then also the legs didn't fit into the keys right away without having to do some work. So I had to kind of work on carving out the keys a little bit and making the holes a little bit bigger. But yeah, so I painted him up. Skin tones are a little on the pinker side because he's outside and it's cold. So kind of like a little frostbite looking. And we did some blood techniques on him, like he's been in a battle, like he fought his way out of the lab. I did my snow technique on the base. I did a live broadcast on Facebook on the painting part, but not the snow effects. But I do have another video that I did for the X-Force Wolverine a couple months ago showing the snow technique. It's relatively simple, as most of the things we do are relatively simple. It's just knowing how to do it and learning the techniques. But this turned out really, really nice. I'm super proud of it. These are, I think, some of my best portraits I've done. Every portrait I do gets a little bit better. So the more you do something, the better you get at it. I'm really proud of these portraits. The snow looks really good, looks natural. Again, I did the underlying colors in a cool tone and I put snow on top of it. So it looks like ice and snow, just not snow. A lot of times people do snow bases and it looks like a frosted cake and it doesn't look natural. And the sculpt actually looks kind of like frosting. It's not sculpted very well, but I'm not sure how you would sculpt snow. So by adding the snow on top, it just makes it look more natural. So we'll do a turnaround, real metal claws, which are very sharp, actually. I've actually cut myself twice on these, just poking myself. But those are epoxied in. You can see the blood effects on the claws. I'll come in tighter on the claws and the hands like he fought his way out. This, as far as Weapon X goes, it's not too crazy with like the control panels and all the wires. There's some that have a lot of stuff going on. And this is actually probably one of my favorite Weapon X sculpts. I just really like it. Franco did a great job of capturing like the rage in his face, the anger, the details in the muscles are really good. He's really good at sculpting muscles with not making them too overly jacked up. Like if you look at an Eric Sosa sculpt, he tends to, and it's just his style. The muscle definition is really exaggerated. This looks a little more natural to me. For the pants, I went with like a khaki green army color, which looks really good. I've seen them blue, green, black. I think the military looks really good. And then for the shoulder straps, I went with like a khaki like a canvas look. So it ties back into the green. It's not green, but I did use some green washes on it. So it's just a slight undertone of green, but it's more of a tan canvas look on the straps. Then we just hand painted the metal details. What was another challenging part of this? The most challenging part are the faces, always, portraits. The gums and the teeth and the tongues came as separate pieces on the two open mouth portraits, which made painting the teeth way easier. I hate painting gums and teeth because it just takes me a long time. A lot of back and forth of painting, cleaning up, tightening things up. And the insides of the mouth I did a little differently. A lot of times I'll just go in there and paint a color. But what I did on the mouths, and when I come in closer, you'll see it better. And in the photos, you'll see it better, is I painted the normal skin tone as I normally would on the outside for the inside of the mouth. And I just airbrushed my red wash that I use on the skin. I just slowly built it up until I got the tone I wanted, and it worked out great because now the mouths don't look red. A lot of times, now the gums are a little more red and have a little brown wash on them to bring out some of the details. But the inside of the mouth looks really natural. The tongue looks more like a natural color. It's just not red. So that worked out really well. So let's come in a little tighter here, and we'll bring the camera up and we'll get it in focus. And I'm going to bring my exposure down a little bit because that's a little bright. So right about, and again, my work lights are really harsh, so they're not the best for photos and video. Actually, if I come down, the best view is from down here, looking up, because then you can see the eyes and stuff. It's like this. And if I bring some light in, you can see. Maybe come up a little bit. Right about in there. There we go. Now we can see the face and the details and stuff. We're going to bring our exposure down a little bit. But yeah, a lot of people don't like this sculpt because and when I take work in progress photos, it's really contrasty and it looks like he has a nutsack for a chin. In person, it doesn't look like that. Excuse me. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. Probably because I just did a little shading there, but in person, it looks fine. I actually really like this portrait because the hair, it looks like it's windswept. For the color of the hair, I started off with a really dark brown. They did some dry brushing to bring out the highlights. And then with the snow in there's a little bit of snow on his forehead, very little snow on the face. I didn't do any blood splattering on the face, just because I wanted to kind of keep those a little cleaner. And overall, the blood is relatively, it's pretty light. The majority of it being on his hands and the claws. And then he's got some wounds on his knees. And I like to put it on the ports, like, like just a wound on the ports where the surgical implants were put in. I like to put a little blood coming out of those. And then all these control panels were hand painted, metallics. Some of the buttons were painted different colors. Luckily, all the screens were decals, so I didn't have to worry about coming up with graphics and stuff. Those were provided as decals. And there's a bunch of different colors that show up in person more. There's like some silvers and coppers and brasses and stuff in there, bronze colors that show up a little bit better in person than they do on the video and photos, but it's pretty subtle on some of them. Oh, there we go. I thought he was hitting the back. But you can see the vein details. Again, on the veins this time, what I did, depending on the size of the figure, sometimes I'll airbrush the veins on and then they do the skin tones. This time I did all skin tones and I went in with a very light wash and did the veins this time just because they were very tight and there's a ton of them. And it was just easier to do it with a brush, just real lightly with a bluish green wash to bring out the veins. So they're a little more exaggerated on this guy than I typically do, but I still think they look good. All right, so there's that open mouth portrait, which is actually, again, my second favorite. We're going to save my favorite for the last, which is it. And then we go to the closed mouth, gritting teeth. And this one is a tight fit. You actually have to push it on a little bit. There's a magnet, but what I really like about the portraits on this are the eyes. I think these are some of the best eyes I've done, like the eye sockets. The eyes are decals. They came as decals. If they didn't come as decals, I would have used decals because I suck at painting eyes. So, know your strengths. But just the details in the eyes are some of the best I've done. If you get in real close, you can see some red veins in the eyeballs and some pinkish, like he's really pissed off. So I just really kind of concentrate and make sure I get the eyes looking really, really nicely detailed on this guy. The gums look great. I tend to make teeth too white. So on these teeth, I make sure to consciously make them a little, grimier looking, and they look really good. So I achieved that with some oil washes after I got the gums and the lips all painted. I went with like a really kind of brownish red wash on the teeth with the oils. I just kind of put it in there, let it dry, and then I wiped it off, and it stained the white a little bit and got all the details between the teeth spaces done, painted nicely. Again, on the face, just a little bit of snow on the forehead, and just a little bit. I kept the snow a little bit lighter on this head. It's a little heavier on the other one since he's kind of windswept. But here you can see the detail in the straps, looking really good. The pipes were painted black, like a dark metallic black, and then I did a little bit of dry brushing afterwards. But once you get all the snow on everything, you really don't see it too much. You can see it in some spots as you turn around in the light, but for the most part, they just look black on those areas. And then if I can come down, you can see the shading here. The pants turned out really good. I'm super happy with the pants. They look great. They look like worn green khaki material. I don't know. I tend to have a knack for fabrics and stuff. I don't know why. I just do. All right. Now I'm going to put on my favorite head. Now this one, you got to do a few things. You got to add a couple wires to it. So this goes on. This fits really well. Now it does have a light up feature. If I took this, so there's a spot in here in the back. You can put LED. It comes with LEDs. I asked my client about that. He's like, I didn't even know it came with LEDs, so just paint the visor. And again, this is one of those things where, unless you're going to take the head off, turn the light on, I don't know many people that would use it. And also, the photos I've seen with the LEDs is two bulbs. They look like two little eyeballs. And it'd be really, since they're so specular in brightness, even if you paint it, it'd be really hard to get rid of that. So I think painted is the way to go, because that way it looks lit up. If you paint it correctly, it looks lit up even without lights on. So that's what I did here. Now we have to add a couple wires to this because it plugs into the back of the helmet. So this one comes under here, and it plugs into this little control panel that's hanging between his legs. There's a pin, a metal pin, and that slides in there. And then come around to the back of the head, and it plugs in back here in that center port, and it just fits in pretty. It's snug, but it's not too tight. And then we got another one that comes here. And these wires I painted different colors, so I did a blue and red wire here on this guy. And there's a spot for it. I just gotta find it. Where is it? Come on, there it goes. And this plugged in right up here. And again, just kind of sits in there, just a little push. And I also painted, there's some wires within this control panel. I painted those red and blue to correspond to these wires. So like they're coming through and feeding throughout the, and then there's one wire here that I painted red and blue, red and black. And this just comes to the side here of the helmet, like it's flying out, like it got tore out as he was fleeing the scene. And this is my favorite setup right here. And my client's like, this is how he'll display it too. And of course, it's Weapon X, so you got to display him like, all decked out in his military implants and stuff. So, but yeah, just a really cool piece. I'm super happy with it. My client loves it. Time-wise, I got about 50 hours into this guy. I think it was 50 hours. Yeah. Maybe a little bit more. I think I charged 50 hours. I have to look back, but I think it was 50 hours. Again, the skin probably took the longest. The skin is a full day just getting the base skin tones down. And then it was a full day to do the pants and the strap and the wires around the arm, just all really detailed paint. And there was another day of doing the control panels, the wire, and the helmet. It was a day just to, once I got the skin tones down, just to detail all the portraits. That took a full day. And then the base was about half a day. So yeah, it's 5 full days worth of work, but well worth it. And it looks awesome. So, Stay tuned for a slideshow after this to see the studio photos where it's going to be, the color's a little more saturated in the photo. They kind of pumped them up a little bit, but it looks really good in person. Looks great in the photos. And if we come down, I'll show you a little close up of the base. And for the rock, I just did some browns, and there's some greens and stuff in here too. The stones, I did a cooler tone. On the base, painting between these rocks was the most challenging part, just because like there's little spots of rock poking out between the snow. But I knew once I put the snow on it, it looked much better, because you got to kind of blend all the edges and stuff. But and you can see the hands there, nice and bloody. Like he's been killed a few guys getting out. The knee wounds turned out really nice. Just a little bit of blood here and there on the feet, like maybe he scuffed his feet, you know, running away. Just a little bit of blood splatter on the arms, just very minimal. You can kind of go a little too heavy with the blood. On the first Weapon X I ever did, I kind of maybe went a little heavy with the blood, but I think I got it just right on this guy. But there you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.